Hi, this is Eric, and this is the first time I'm gonna be doing a video podcast in English. So let's see how it goes. So I have a question for you. What is the best miracle God has done for you? What is it? Your child's health? Your wife? Your husband? What has it been? The best miracle? Did God pay for your college tuition? What is it? In the book of Luke, chapter 6, verse 17 to 19, I found what I think is the best miracle God has or did and has ever done for humanity. The book, it says that in verse 18 and 19 that Jesus came near to them to heal those people. And they came to him to hear him and to be healed. Now, the cool thing about it is that all of them, verse 19 says that all of them, everyone was healed. All of them. But you can think about, well, right there, that's it. That's the best miracle. Those who were limping, they walk straight. Those who were blind, those who couldn't talk, those who, whatever the need was, God supplied that need. That God did a miracle to them or perform a miracle. Jesus did. And yes, it's all right. Yes, it is. He did. But that wasn't it. That wasn't the best miracle because God can do that anytime. Not an issue for him. To me, what I consider to be the best miracle is found in verse 17. In verse 17 says that Jesus came down and stood with them. He was with his disciples. And that's the best miracle. Jesus, God himself, living, sharing amongst us, humans. Think about it. All other, or some people believe that God is far away, or that it's just he's not as near, or he's not as close. Our God, the one we believe in, he comes down and he wants to spend time with us. He stands by us. That's neat. That's the best miracle. But let me explain it to you the way I understand it and how I sense that. As you may know, well, most of you know me from church. That's my circle of Facebook friends, most of you guys. And you know, I received a calling to be a pastor a few years back. And it was a blessing. And for the first year in college, I couldn't pay for everything. So I had to leave college. They asked me to leave college because I owned more than $17,000 and I couldn't pay for it. And someone else paid for it. And not only those $17,000, he gave me extra. He gave me a total of $70,000. So my whole expenses were covered my 4 years in college. That was a miracle. And you think that's the best miracle. God paid for your college. That's it. You were called. That's it. What a blessing. And it was a blessing. But when I believe that was the best miracle God had done for me and I preached about it, that wasn't it. I don't think so. Now I don't think so. After that, after I graduated, I received a couple callings to be a pastor for some conferences, but I couldn't because I didn't have a work permit. And because I didn't have a work permit, I decided to go to Florida and work in construction. I started pouring concrete. And I remember this couple calling me, Jim and Linda. They said, you can't be pouring concrete. You're a pastor. Go back to study. So I went to Andrews. They took care of my expenses. It was a blessing. And for 1 year, I was doing my master's, and then this thought came to my mind that perhaps the worst mistake or a blessing. I'm not sure. But I said, I can't live like this. I need to get my papers. I need to be able to work in the States. I have this calling. I want to work as a pastor. Please, God, allow me to get my papers. So I decided to go back to Mexico. Well, I filled up some papers. We did all these. These people allowed me to use their checking account to be as a proof that I could go back, that I was able to afford college and all this. And I went back to Mexico. I chose a date, 4th of July, to go back to Mexico. Freedom, huh? A couple days later, I was at the Mexican embassy, and they denied my application. I couldn't. And now, I didn't finish my master's. I wasn't able to go back to the States, and I was in Mexico. After living in the United States for for 18 years, half of my life, what was I going to do now? Well, they hired me in Mexico to be a pastor. And it was a blessing. I started working as a pastor, as a chaplain at the hospital. A year later, they moved me to a college. And that university was a blessing as well, but that's where I started to fall apart. I started making mistakes. And then I went to work as a pastor in Cancun, huh? And that's where everything crumbled, I'll say. Because for some reason, and I won't blame the church, I won't blame anybody, I started to pull, okay, or perhaps I already had, but I started a little farther away, started to be a little farther away from God. And farther away. The funny thing is, like, you're in a house, you're safe, you're fine, there are lights, everything is cool, everything is fine, and it seems boring at times. But so you decide to step outside and look in the dark, and you go out, pick something out, and come back in. And you're like, oh, it's fine then. Sin isn't too bad. I can go back out. And the next day, you go back out. But without noticing it, little by little, you start stepping farther away from home. And one day, you have no idea how to get back. You don't know how. You don't know how. You that heard God's voice, you have no idea how to get back. That happens when you step away from God. It doesn't happen from one morning to the next. It's not like that. It's little by little, slowly. Those little things. What I did last year, on July last year or so, I fooled around with a girl. I slept with someone. More than once. And by December of last year, I said I don't want it anymore. I didn't want it because I was sick of it. I had to preach. After that, I had to preach almost every day. See, as a pastor here, you have 10 churches, or I had 10 churches. I had to preach on Wednesday, on Friday, Saturday, 2 or 3 times, and on Sunday. And Sunday morning sometimes. So, how could a pastor preach when he has so much weight on his shoulders? And I'm not talking about work, I'm talking about guilt. How can a pastor talk about salvation? How can a pastor talk about the grace of God when he is in the mud? Or worse yet, he's in the darkness. He's not even in the house. He's outside someplace. How can he preach about God? How can he preach about love? How? I couldn't anymore. And I remember last December, I came home for vacation. I had surgery. And while I was recovering, one day I went out for a walk. And I prayed this prayer. I asked God, please, let me quit. Let me quit. I don't know how to go to the president conference. I don't know how. I don't know how to tell him, hey, I'm sleeping with someone. Come on, help me out. I want to quit. I don't know how. Please, God, allow me to quit. Help me. I don't have the courage to go to the president conference. Allow me, please, help me. And God answered my prayer. Because when I went back to work, I went back on Wednesday. On Friday, he called me up and said, Eric, I need to talk to you. I say, I knew the phone call wasn't right. I said, please. And we spoke to me. He said, Eric, an elder came. He said that this girl came to him and tell him that you slept with her. I said, yes, I did. I did. And he said, what are we going to do? Should we relocate you? I said, no, please, don't. I'm out. I want out. I can't handle it anymore. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of faking. Please, don't. So I quit. I came home, or where my mom, my family is. I was going to start the business. But Airbnb, not tourism here in Oaxaca. And I said, what am I going to do? I have to start working. And a friend of mine is calling, is always calling, is always asking. And he said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to start working. And he said, no, you shouldn't be working. I said, why not? You're a pastor. You have to keep on preaching. I said, I can't preach. I said, you have to. I said, no, I have to work. I have to have some income. I said, I'll give you a salary, a weekly salary, so you can keep on preaching. So I can keep on preaching. What's the best miracle? He came down and stood by me. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it. But he decided to stand by me. God himself says, hey, you keep on preaching. I'm right beside you. And with my help, you will be able to go back into the house. It's darkness. It's dark right now. And this darkness doesn't help you at all. But let's go back. Little by little. Not all of a sudden. It doesn't work like that. Little by little. Because the same way you went out, little by little, the same way come back in. Slowly. So you can see the darkness isn't fun. The darkness isn't nice. But even through this darkness that I don't deserve, says God, I'm walking with you. Even though you cause it. So what's the best miracle, my friend? I don't know what is it for you. To me, that God came down and stood by me. So I want to encourage you. Keep on going. And don't go too far out. Don't go too far out. Please don't go too far out. It's too dark outside. It is too dark and it gets darker yet. So don't go outside. Stay in. Stay in. Stay in Christ. Don't give up. Keep on going. Because God is right beside you. Because He came down. He came down. It's with you. He came down to heal you. And He came down to stand by you. God bless you. Dios te bendiga.